is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden, joined as always by my two favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Spawnhour and Theo Ash. I feel like we're sitting almost as like a staircase right now. I'm super low, Theo's kind of in the middle, and Matt's sitting really high. But we're talking about some NFL football today. We're doing a draft of our mid-season NFL awards: MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year on both sides of the ball. Very similar to the way we do our locks. We'll get into that in a little bit. But before we talk about football, how are you guys doing on this beautiful Wednesday evening?
I'm doing pretty well. I voted by mail, but unfortunately I got my notes for this episode mixed up with my ballot, so I accidentally voted for Lamar Jackson. But that's okay.
You voted for Lamar Jackson, Kamala Harris for MVP, and
Yeah. Oops, got him mixed up.
oh man, Tim Walz for Defensive Player of the Year with his notorious 4-4 defense.
Coach of the Year. He'll win Coach of the Year with that.
He might win it. I don't know. I think it would be really fun to play him in Madden. I think that'd be pretty funny.
You can. I saw that he was streaming it with AOC. I did not tune into that stream.
Neither did I. I just saw it after the fact. People tagged me in it. I was like, what do I have to do to play Tim Walz and obliterate his 44, you know?
I didn't see what scheme Walls was running, though. I didn't see any clips of it. I just saw an edit of them on Twitch, but they put it over that Call of Duty scene where everybody gets shot at the airport.
Right.
So I'm on a little bit more of a nihilistic side of Twitter, I think.
You're kind of like on like the messed up side of Twitter.
I'm kind of on
the fucked up shit like that
side of Twitter. Definitely.
Got to change up your algorithm, man. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm fine. I don't know if I have anything to report. I'm trying to think.
Okay.
Nope. Just been regular going. I'd like to say I wasn't a big fan of the Deontay Johnson trade. They didn't get much back for him, which was a disappointment. But at least he went to the Ravens, and it helps Lamar. I'm down for that, so cool.
Yeah.
And it keeps him away from any other pesky AFC contenders, you know. The Texans, who else is there that hasn't already traded for a receiver? It's pretty much just the Texans.
Yeah,
it's pretty much just the Texans. So that maybe the Ravens were just trying to help themselves by keeping him away from
I mean, with how little they gave up, honestly, like that would be a completely reasonable play. They gave up like probably 10 spots on day 3. Like, who cares at all? So
this just means a big time free agent is coming this season for the Panthers.
Right. Yeah. So we're cool. We should talk about Anthony Richardson, though. I think that's the big news of the week that we need to hit. He's been benched for Joe Flacco, and not only has he been benched, but like Steichen says, this is what we're doing going forward, not a one-game thing, not a short trial thing. And when asked whether or not Richardson would start again, he was like, yeah, we'll see. So
I hope so. That would be great, is what he said.
He said, we'll see. That would be great. So he's kind of, you know, not sounding super hyped about Anthony Richardson. I mean, this is mega your guy, Theo. What are your thoughts?
No, I think we should go back to how the Panthers are opening up money to sign Micah Hyde in a clear league-altering move. You're trying to bury the lead here.
They're bringing Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in 2025.
We're opening up money for that Garrett trade, big dog. Send him on over.
Stop. When the Browns win the Super Bowl this year, he's signing the biggest contract ever.
Yeah, you're getting
He's signing a lifetime deal with the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, let's talk about Michael Thomas and where he's going to land.
I didn't even remember that he's not on a team record, dude.
Michael Thomas.
All right, I can't run from it any longer. Yes, he got benched, and it doesn't sound like it'll just be for the Vikings game, which I was kind of holding out hope for. I'm like, well, maybe they just don't want his ass blitzed into oblivion by Brian Flores.
They're scared of Ivan Pace, and we understand why. It makes...
Well, we do understand why. A big problem with Anthony Richardson is he would have gotten lit up by Brian Flores because he cannot decipher a blitz. His success rate versus the blitz this year is 18%, which is not good. You cannot be beating basically 2 in 10 of the blitzes coming against you. Not only is he not beating the blitz, he is taking big hits against the blitz. He is getting lit up, and I think part of the reason that he's benched is not because of the way he was playing overall. I mean, I think that he played better than the box score on Sunday. I think there were drop touchdowns. I still think there were some nice big plays downfield, and the QB run game is so cool with him. I think if he didn't take himself out for that play, he might still be the starter. And I think the big concern of taking yourself out is what led to that. You know, you just don't see it ever on any level of football. The quarterback's going out because they're tired instead of just standing in there and handing the ball off. And I think it just went to show that Richardson was overwhelmed. His play style was unsustainable and going to continue to get him hurt, that he just kind of lost his focus, I think, mentally there for a second. And I think it was just a sobering moment for everybody where they just kind of realized, hey, maybe throwing him in the fire right away wasn't the way to do this. And so they benched him. And all the questions this week are about him taking himself out. And Ryan Kelly said that that's not the standard. And Steichen said, you just don't do that. And I really think more than, like, obviously we can talk more about his performance and what he was struggling with. But I think the reason why they benched him instead of sticking through more growing pains, because he's played 8 games, right? Daniel Jones has gotten 6 years, for God's sake.
Right.
I think part of the reason they took him out after 8 games, like, I just don't think it would have happened without that moment where he took himself out. And that's kind of where I'm at. I thought that was just a total turning point and something that was completely bizarre.
I probably agree with you, Theo. The way I started looking at it was from the perspective of, we talk about, like with the Panthers, who's the better option at quarterback. And, maybe Matt, you brought up last episode that it probably is a good decision to stick it out with Flacco just because you're already so close to being a playoff team that it, might be the best option to give you the best chance of making the playoffs. Even if it might be a first round exit, which, like, how much is that actually worth anything? But then you also have to take into account the age of Richardson. And like you said, Theo, how limited his experience is. But then one thing that came to mind for me was that he isn't the youngest starter in the NFL. He is the second youngest starter in the NFL behind Drake May, who is in one of the worst situations, if not the worst in the NFL. And he looks really good, even though the Patriots aren't winning, but they have no offensive line, mediocre receivers, can't run the ball, horrible play calling, and he looks fantastic. And so it is a struggle for me to decipher between, like, well, how much do you actually want to lean into and keep giving him reps versus, well, maybe we need to kind of pull him for a little bit, let him kind of gain his composure, and then we'll maybe throw him back in later in the year or next year. But it's so difficult because you have, like, oh, maybe he's Josh Allen, but maybe he's Bryce Young.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it. I think in general, there's probably a locker room. I mean, I saw that, and his name is slipping me now. Their center,
Ryan Kelly.
Yeah, he had comments, and he clearly wasn't happy with it. So I wonder if at some level, like, yeah, him taking himself out for that play forced Steichen to basically, like, I've got to bench him. He's not playing well. Like, the team knows that there's a guy who at the moment can play better on the bench and a guy who won't take himself out of the play. And it's like, if that's bothering everybody, I think making the call and saying Richardson's got to like earn his way back onto the field is something that sucks, but I understand. At the same time, your future is with Richardson. And if you're Steichen and he doesn't work out, it's going to be very hard to pivot from there and turn into like a serious contender, right?
Especially when Flacco is kind of good enough to get you to the playoffs. Like, there is truth to the fact that Flacco is, good enough to bring you to the wild card round, at least. I mean, it happened last year. But if you do that, how are you going to... What is a better plan than Richardson right now? Like, if you're 9-8,
and there's no quarterback option for them this offseason, most likely, right? I mean, unless something we can't see now opens up, they're going to be picking back half of the first round or right around the middle of the first round, and the quarterback class might not have a guy who's even worth a first round pick at all. You could argue. So I think in the long run, you've got to see it through a little bit more than this with Richardson. And I know the instant comparison is Bryce Young, somebody who also got benched kind of early, and a lot of people would say unfairly. But the difference is that with Richardson, his physical tools give him a much higher ceiling. And with Bryce, like, his problems are problems that feel like they're not going to be able to be solved because they're just physical limitations, right? And even considering that, Bryce has played like twice as many games as Richardson still, or started at least. But before he even got benched the first time. So I think I definitely am of the mindset now, because there's been a lot of people talking about it, and of like, do quarterbacks need to stay in college a little bit longer? I think to some extent, yeah, guys need to get the reps a little bit more if they can. If you've played one season, it's just really tough to come into the NFL and get a bunch of time to develop like you need to. And this Colts situation is an example of it, I feel like if you're a Josh Allen type, you either want to land on a team that's really bad, so there's no expectations and there's nothing you're holding back, or a team that already has a quarterback and allows you to sit for a few years. But for guys who need a little bit more development, it's just so tough if you don't land in one of those two situations, and Richardson hasn't. That being said, Richardson being bad, how he's looked, it's not been good. It's been a negative sign, even though he is raw. Like, it's not been.
I do think it's kind of a risk to stay to stay an extra year or an extra 2 years in college if you have a chance to be a top 5 pick, as opposed to going back to a school where...
That's very true.
Like, if I don't know what Florida, their infrastructure looked like the year after Richardson left. But like, if he goes back and the team is worse, he probably ends up getting drafted later. Unless he ends up being just an absolute smoke show, right? But that's a risk. And you probably would rather just be the top 5 pick. I don't know.
I agree.
Yeah, I want to talk about two comparisons that you guys made. One kind of pro Richardson, one is kind of the case against Richardson. Blaiden, I think you make a good point. Like, you don't have to play for that long to get better. And Drake May is a good example of that. Like, he's already better than Anthony Richardson is, because I've seen him go through his reads and like his feet come with him. Like, he reads from one side to the other side. For game one, he was doing that. And like, the footwork matched up and he was accurate, and like, he hasn't been turning the football over. His completion percentage isn't below 40%. Like, Drake May already has done more than Anthony Richardson on like figuring out a lot of the mental part of it, in one game. And it is concerning that Richardson has played 8, and has not shown any of those things, and has not gotten better at any of those things. Like, his best game this year was in week 1, and he's gotten worse from there. So that's definitely concerning, and I can see, that being just, I'm out. But talking about Bryce Young and another quarterback from his draft class that got benched, he is substantially better than Bryce Young, like by a lot. Like, Bryce Young, the play before he took himself out, he bucked a defensive player like off his back like it was nothing. Bryce Young can't do that kind of thing. Anthony Richardson, his EPA per drop back since 2023, negative 0.06. And with Bryce Young, it's negative 0.23. So with Richardson, it's almost 4 times better. All right. And here's another stat for you. Richardson's EPA per dropback, negative 0.06. That's the exact same as Caleb Williams so far in their careers. And Caleb Williams actually has more attempts than Richardson in his career. So, like, is it time to bench Caleb Williams? Like, that's how your sample size that you're going off with.
Right.
And Caleb Williams is older. So, I understand benching him. I understand benching him specifically for the Vikings game. I understand trying to take a step back and being like, look, the way you're playing right now isn't working for you. You're going to continue to get hurt, and we need to work on it off the field so you actually can continue your career. But at the end of the day, he needs more reps before the end of the season. I don't know what the Colts plan. It is not more important to make the playoffs this year with Flacco than it is to see more of Richardson. Again, I really think it would be akin to the Bears benching Caleb Williams right now and then never knowing what they have in him. I mean, it's 262 dropbacks for Caleb versus 251 for Anthony Richardson. And a lot of their numbers are or their advanced numbers. Richardson is worse. Like EPA per play isn't the only one, but EPA per play is still I think EPA is about as good of a stat as we got. So the fact that one is the same,
that takes into account a lot of the 70-yard touchdowns that Richardson has, and
it doesn't take into account his designed rushes.
Yeah.
So
I know. I think you're absolutely right. I want to see more of Richardson. I think if the biggest problem that you have is the accuracy, which I think most people would say yes.
They'd be wrong about that, I will say. I think so. I mean, you look at his game, this most recent game, how many plays are bad because they're totally inaccurate. Not there's a lot of plays that are bad for other reasons, like the footwork thing, but he really, and the blitz thing, but really not a lot of his throws are complete airmails. So the completion percentage is the biggest problem, certainly, but I don't think his completion percentage is low because he is totally inaccurate.
I have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure he has the lowest on target rate in the NFL also.
Look, he still might, but I'm just telling you, the tape is not. You'll see the completion percentage in your mind.
None of these things are going to get better with him sitting on the bench or working with the twos.
Maybe they could though. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they could. I mean, they're not getting better on the field. That's my big dilemma. Is at some point you need to see him again, but
I don't think it's a matter that it's going to get better with him on the bench. I think it's just an opportunity to cool off.
Yeah, that's how I'm interpreting it, but that might be fan fiction.
We're just coping a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're really a heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare ya. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's gotta be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's locations. Well, do you guys want to get into this awards draft?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, according to Twitter, Matt, you get the first pick.
Should we explain how it works before we get into it specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't do a super great job of it. If you pay attention to the Stay Hot locks, the way we do that is a snake style draft. So someone will have the first pick and they'll have an opportunity to pick either an MVP, an offensive player of the year, a defensive player of the year, an offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year. You can pick any award that you want and any player to win that award. And then at the end, we'll each kind of have a fantasy team of every award, of award winners. Yes. Of who we would give awards to at this point in the season.
Yep.
Did I miss anything?
No, that's about right. Yeah, fantasy team with awards picks. I'm excited.
Well, Matt, according to Twitter, you have the first pick, I have the second pick, and Theo, you have the third pick. Snake style.
Okay.
Yeah, you're losing out on the 2 MVPs, Theo, I fear.
Well, that's okay. Matt, you're on the clock.
I'll just go Lamar Jackson for my MVP at the 1. Lamar has been phenomenal this year in a season where there's been questions about the offensive line and the defense really hasn't been at what it is usually. He has just stepped up for them and has been playing his best ball statistically. He's on pace for one of his best passing seasons and one of his best rushing seasons. I think he's just behind, like, going for his highest rushing total ever. But the big thing about it is that even though he has Derrick Henry, who deserves award consideration himself, but in terms of the passing game, there's nobody there who's like game breaking other than Lamar. And so much of the production and so much of the success of the passing game not only comes down to him, but him creating offense in a way that virtually no other quarterback does or can do. And I think that's right now what makes him the MVP. Now, Josh Allen is obviously right up there. I think it's neck and neck. And if Allen keeps up like his no interception streak going and he doesn't have one and Lamar's got 2, I wouldn't be mad at all if they ended up giving it to him. But right now, I'm going Lamar.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. I'm going to take Josh Allen because, like you said, it's neck and neck. If I could have gotten Lamar, I would have taken him. But yeah, like you said, Allen's also playing great, and he's avoiding turnovers at an incredible rate this year, which is something that we haven't seen a whole lot from him in the past. So it's really special stuff now. So Lamar and Allen, the 2 MVP candidates, the 2 major MVP candidates are off the board. Theo, you've got the swing here. 2 picks. Make them count.
That is so brutal for me because all the names I have written down, I think I'm probably higher on than you guys. And those are the 2 that I wanted to kick this off. But I'll go with Dexter Lawrence as my defensive player of the year.
That would have been my next
I
pick.
like that pick.
I just think having 9 sacks as a nose is unbelievable. I mean, we're watching, if we're going to differentiate between nose tackle and 3 technique, we might be watching the best nose to ever walk the earth play right now in this season. I mean, he's completely dominant against the run. He's the best pass rusher this year too, apparently. And it's been that way for a while. The outlier pressure numbers from that nose tackle spot, it's like him at 50 and then like the next best guy has 12 aligned at that spot. Like it's completely out of this world bonkers. And for him to be, I think that he's deserved more consideration as I shouldn't say that. I remember talking to on a podcast a while ago that, you know, he could be in the mix and then he just doesn't lead the league in sacks that often. Right. So the fact that he's doing that this year, I think, you know, should get him pretty damn close. But anyway, I've ran out of things to say about him and keep this on track. I'll go with Justin Jefferson next as my offensive player of the year.
Okay.
So he is second in receiving yards right now, but he's also ran 70 less routes than Jamar Chase. And if you count defensive pass interference drawn, he actually goes above Chase in yardage. He's got the best yards per route run of his career, over 3. The only people above him right now are Rashee Rice, A.J. Brown, and Nico Collins, all of whom have now missed significant time. So the fact that Jefferson is right along up there with them on a much bigger sample size is pretty ridiculous. I've made a couple of videos on TikTok saying like least impressive Justin Jefferson catch. And then it's like him doing some mind-bending stuff at the catch point, like just changing how you think the ball should be played. Every single catch he has is the most like insane display of hand-eye coordination that I've ever seen in my life. And like Jamar Chase has Joe Burrow and Nico Collins has CJ Stroud and, you know, Rashee Rice has Patrick Mahomes and AJ Brown has Hurts and CD has Dak and he has Sam Darnold and he's putting up these kinds of numbers and just clearly establishing himself, I think, this year as the best wide receiver in the league yet again. But now Tyreek Hill has kind of fallen off. So it's him and then maybe Chase, but I just think that Justin Jefferson, all things considered, has been more impressive. And then Derrick Henry is another guy that I think is like the favorite in the odds, but like I think Justin Jefferson is better than even Derrick Henry is, man. Like I just do. So I'm going with Justin Jefferson.
Well, dude, I'm glad you left me Derrick Henry because I will take him.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know what his total pace is for the year, but he's got 946 yards through 8 games. Dude, how old is he? Stop being good. Give it a break. Hang it up. He's averaging 6.5 yards per carry. He has 9 touchdowns on the year. He's just an absolute freak. Now, obviously, he shares a backfield with Lamar, so they each take some pressure off of each other. Part of the reason why Lamar is having such a great rushing season. But if the metric of offensive player of the year is just like most impressive offensive season, I think Derrick Henry's running away with that right now.
Yeah, it's tough to disagree. He's been ridiculous over the age of 30. People keep saying he's going to fall off, and he just never does. And he's like 200. He's got like 200 yards on Saquon Barkley right now for the league lead. It's just like not even close between him and the next most impressive running back. And then no wide receiver has really established themselves as
Jamar Chase
outpacing everybody
Chase
like
and
that.
Jefferson are having good years, but I mean, he's not on pace for 2,000, is he?
Oh.
He might be.
I think he might be.
I'm sure he's
times 7. Yeah, he's on pace for 2011.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I don't know, man. At his age, it would just be absolutely insane. But
I think I'll say one more thing about Henry. I think he's going to do this next year too. I remember looking at like the age 30 running back seasons, like the best ones ever. And there's a couple good age 30 seasons, and they're always coincided that same player having a great 31 season as well. Like if you're good enough at 30, like almost all of them are good enough at 31 as well. So it's like I think the Ravens knew what they were doing, giving him a 2-year contract.
Yeah.
But that's all I got.
He also has 41 first downs.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Matt, who's your next pick gonna be?
I think there's one other race that is like MVP is pretty tough after you get past the first two. I think there's one other race like that, and it's Defensive Rookie of the Year, and it's Jared Verse is the guy that you've got to pick. I think is the one right now. I think he sits right around like 10 in total pressures. He's been super efficient. He's somebody who maybe we talked about being like, do they have the full bag of moves? I honestly think just what you see from him is turning, his speed into power is crazy impressive. I mean, the sack that he had against Minnesota, where he just Darnold dropped way back and Verse still gets there anyway, pushing through, I forget who, the whole time. I mean, he's been an absolute, stud for LA. So I think right now, just off production and what we're seeing, I'm going him as my Defensive Rookie of the Year pick.
I think Defensive Rookie of the Year is the toughest one right now, actually. Like, I feel like no one has really separated themselves, but I guess Verse kind of has. His counting stats are pretty great right now. I feel like he hasn't stood out to me the same way Jaden Daniels has on like offense, I would say. So who do you think is there with Daniels? Because I was surprised to hear you set that up and then go with defensive.
Well, at least on offensive. Well, first off, I have 2 picks.
That's true.
Second off, I think that Brian Thomas Jr. is having a hell of a season. He's probably. I mean, he's got to be top 10 in receiving yards. No,
he's top Well, he's very close to the top.
Where does he rank? And
I know where he ranks
receiving
in touchdowns.
possibly. You know exactly where he
he ranks in receiving touchdowns. He ranks.
But here's the thing:
third.
you're regardless of whether or not he gets it, you're justified in that take. Those odds were obviously wrong. If he finishes with like 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns and doesn't get to 12, it's like, all right, well, that's how it goes. But that was a good bet regardless.
I think the first thing I said after he was drafted is, I'm getting him in fantasy this year. So yeah, I like that shout. And hopefully it's going to be hard to pass Jamar Chase. And I think Kittle has 6. So.
Also, like, Neighbors, I know, has been out for a few games. Malik Neighbors is ridiculous. Like, he's obviously one of the best receivers in the NFL right now. Like, there's no reason to be like, oh, maybe. Like, no, he obviously is. There's a lot of big names I'd take him over.
Every single receiver in this class could be in this conversation in a different year, I feel like. Like Ladd, Keon, Leggett, like, it's been pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, facts. Then if you're just going straight offensive rookie, like, okay, name the tight ends better than Brock Bowers right now. It's not many. It's not many. So, I mean, this offensive class was stacked looking back on it. Like, ridiculous, man, how good some of the top guys are out of the gate. That being said, Jaden Daniels is like legitimately an MVP candidate level of guy. He's not really quite up there with Allen and Lamar, and I don't think he'll win it. He'll probably end up more as like, you got to have him in the conversation guy. But what he's done for Washington and the performance that he's put up, I know Mariota had a good game when he came in, and a lot of people are going to hold that against him. It does not count because it was against the Panthers, and I do mean that. I'm deadly serious.
Oh, yeah.
It does not matter. Carolina has the worst defense in the entire NFL. Daniels, I mean, the rushing has been fantastic for him. Him using it as much as he has been a huge plus, even if he, maybe he's not Lamar fast, but it doesn't matter. It's still something that defenses have to worry about. And he's, not slow by any means. And then his accuracy overall has been huge, and his ability to just process things and get through his reads has been fantastic. Like, it's hard to find big weaknesses with his game right now.
Totally. I think it,
and particularly his deep accuracy has been awesome. And I think Terry McLaurin is finally having like a big time year with him, right? I mean, where does he rank in receiving yards? I'm assuming pretty dang high.
Yeah.
So it's just been like, for a Washington team that easily could have been, I mean, on paper, worst team in the league. I don't think that would have shocked anybody. I think we talked about it 2 months ago.
I think that was my prediction.
I forget who I had. I think I had like the Raiders or something. Of course,
you guys had the wrong. Giants. No, you guys kind of cooked at the Giants. I think we all said an NFC East team, and I was debating like who would be.
The Panthers are on pace to have the worst point differential ever, man. They're like they're horrifically bad, dude.
I did name them as my 2-15 team on Twitter, so at least I got that on record.
So the season's got to turn around here any day now, dude. Holy shit!
2 years in a row, the 2-15 curse has not shown through for the Cardinals. I'm glad I didn't comment Washington Commanders on that tweet though, and have it get quote-tweeted a million times. But it almost would have been fun to have
that. Would have been dangerous, dude.
It just as easily could have been them, but we had just gotten done talking about how mid the Panthers are.
Thank God. It's honestly, I feel like that speaks more to how crazy and unpredictable the NFL is, and you having some bad luck more than anything.
Yeah, just bad luck. Terry McLaurin is 4th in receiving yards, for your information, behind Chase, Jefferson, and Lamb. And yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. And you can see the growth that Daniels has had. Like week 1, he didn't really, and really the first 2 weeks, it was week 3 was kind of his big breakout. The first 2 weeks, he wasn't really targeting the wide receivers. Now, Terry McLaurin is top 5 in receiving yards. In college, he wasn't really going over the middle of the field. Now, you just can't say that. Like, it's just getting tougher and tougher to list any weaknesses with him. He still prefers outside the numbers and things like that, but like, when his EPA is as good outside the numbers as it is, like, yeah, just keep going outside the numbers, man. Like, that's fine. As long as there's a little bit of over the middle stuff, which there definitely is.
Matt, with that being said, are you taking Jaden Daniels with your next pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I already said that. I won't lie.
I don't think you ever officially said it, but
I was just making for the record.
We were talking about offensive rookie of the year and we got sidetracked. But yeah, my turn is Verson Daniels.
Fair.
That's a pretty good slot there. So what am I? I got MVP and offensive player of the year, so I need a defensive player of the year guy and an offensive rookie and defensive rookie of the year. I think my next pick, because now I got to start thinking about this a little bit strategically. Like who can I end up living with and without? This is gonna pain me to do it. I think I'm gonna take TJ Watt as my defensive player of the year guy. Just doing so much for this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I didn't realize he has 4 forced fumbles on the year. What is wrong with him? And he's recovered.
That strip sack he had against the Giants. Holy shit, dude.
Watching the Manning cast was so funny. I don't know if you guys watch the Manning cast on Monday nights, but I love it for moments like that. Because before the snap, Eli is like, you got to motion the tight end over because he sees Watt one-on-one. He's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And like the snap keeps going and he's like looking around nervously. He's like, why aren't they motioning? And then it just plays out in slow motion that he just wrecks the game and just goes to show like what a competent quarterback would think every time they see TJ Watt lined up.
Yeah.
It's like, that guy needs to be doubled. Otherwise he's going to like absolutely kill us. And yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah. And he does. And that's all he does. He's just a total game wrecker. At everything that he does, you can do a whole lot with him. I get into these debates with Steelers fans all the time. Oh, Garrett versus Watt. And I always talk about, well, Garrett, you can kind of line him up anywhere on the defensive line. And, he's a matchup nightmare against anyone. But with Watt, you can literally have him do anything on defense, it feels like. If you want him to pass rush or drop into, it's like you can have him do so much. He just makes your defense so dangerous. So, yeah, I'll take him as my defensive player of the year. And I think he's probably first in odds right now.
I'm not mad at it.
He's probably up there. I mean, he just makes big time plays, dude. I don't know if that's like the lamest analysis ever, but truly he does, man.
I think
like he's been doing this forever. Like it's just it's like at some point you have to accept like there's just something about him that allows him to like,
and the
okay,
Steelers
like
are
Giants
6-2, like, come on.
Exactly. And that's why I think like if we were just doing one of those drafts that we do sometimes where we go like our MVP picks, but then we like all have to pick 3 different ones, eventually I would have gotten the TJ Watt as like my 9th guy, as sort of like a woke, what if we gave it to a defensive player take. But he's got a case for it, dude. I mean, the Steelers shouldn't be at the top of the AFC North, all things considered. And they are, because when it becomes like a big time moment and the Giants are driving and they have a chance, TJ Watt, instant win, perfect strip ball bounces to him because of course he recovers the fumble. GG. Like,
yeah, he's got devil magic as a pass rusher. It's very weird. I will say this though. I think the Steelers are about to hit a very, very rude awakening as they go Commanders, Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals.
Browns. They'll be all right.
They don't got Watson back there anymore. He might be.
I'm just saying, man.
Might be in for a tough day.
This is a very the next half of their schedule is much harder than the first half. Falcons, Broncos, Chargers, Colts, Cowboys, Raiders, Jets, Giants. Dude, we're getting very, very 2022.
I heard Jets, Giants in there.
Yes, that was their last 2 games were Jets, Giants.
They're fine.
How many of these teams have a winning record? Like half? It's not an easy schedule. I'll give you that.
I don't know, man. Like, they have winning records, but like,
they do.
I don't know. But yeah, that's my defensive player of the year pick. So Theo, you've got a defensive player of the year and offensive player of the year. You're missing an MVP.
I am, but I'm going to wait because I think it falls off kind of a cliff after the first 2, I think. I'm going with Brock Bowers as offensive rookie of the year in this selection.
Woke. But we respect
woke.
Woke nonsense.
You didn't pick a wide receiver. It's a little woke.
I mean, what
It's not. It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Better than being fake woke, you know?
guy? He's on pace for over 1,100 yards this year. No tight end in history has done that. Only 2 have ever had over 1,000. Mike Ditka being one of them, Kyle Pitts being the other. People forget this, and don't look up where Kyle Pitts is in tight end yardage right now, by the way. Anyway, Brock Bowers currently ranks, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He ranks 11th in yards overall right now. And he's just ridiculously good. He gets off press coverage beautifully. He can just run right through it because he's a 240-pound tight end. Or, like, he can chop his feet and make people think he's going a different way on a release. Like, and then his breaks down the field are beautiful. Like, the head fakes that he puts on, and then his hand-eye coordination. Like, he seriously... I think he should just stop blocking altogether, to be honest with you. Like, I go through a Raiders game and he's like got his hand in the dirt in line. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, Jimmy Graham, that man immediately. Like, let him, pay him like a wide receiver, treat him like a wide receiver. I don't want to see him blocking ever. Seriously, like, just have him rerunning routes. He's not that great as an inline blocker. Just put him out wide because he has like his skill set honestly reminds me of like Justin Jefferson's a little bit. Like, I'm like, damn, his hand-eye coordination is so good. Like, damn, he just gets off press so well. Damn, like his head fakes at the top is so good. Like, it reminds me of all the top just wideouts, not the top tight ends.
He's one of those guys where he catches so good for someone his size that it looks weird.
Yeah,
that was always my thought about him. It's like, man, it just looks so easy for him. Do you know what I mean?
Just everything about his game just screams wide receiver to me. And then you realize that he's a tight end. And it's like this is bizarre. And his acceleration is so good. Like, he'll be blocking guys at the line of scrimmage, like giving chip help. He'll be taking a jam from like a defensive end or something. And then he'll accelerate and it'll be like nothing ever happened to him. It's like, I don't know, man. He's just an absolute freak. He's on pace to beat Puka's reception record from last year. It is a little bit like the Stroud Puka debate last year, where it's like, man, there's this receiver who's on pace to break all the records, and then there's a quarterback who's playing, at a really top tier level. It's tough to decide between the two of them, but I think that they're pretty clear 1 and 2 in the defensive or offensive rookie of the year race right now.
All right.
And I have the swing. That's right.
You do. So you might as well take defensive rookie of the year.
Helping your opponent?
I might as well.
This is why I went defensive rookie of the year early, man. First, the production's been good. Like, he's got a lot of pressures.
I know. And then
he's got some cool highlight plays. He's been good.
My strategy with defensive rookie of the year now that Verse is off the board is just, it might just be to pick someone who's just like kind of fun.
See, I would take Evan Williams if he played in the last game.
Theo, I was really hoping that you would. I'm not going to lie.
I just don't know if I can take him over a guy like Quinion Mitchell or who's been playing like just as good over the last few weeks. How many sacks does Latu have?
Not 2.
2. He's been pretty good this year. I think I've got to take Mitchell, even though I didn't love him coming out of the draft, and I'm getting put on edits by Eagles fans right now.
Are you?
Look,
it's a tough life.
Let this be my apology for doubting him. I doubted his scheme coming out of Toledo. Like, every rep after rep, he was just sitting in off coverage and like driving on a hitch route. And it's like, there's so many other things that I felt like I didn't see from him. And it just didn't really matter. They put him in the most complex like scheme that there is, legendary, right? Fangio doing all kinds of different things. And he's been locked down, especially over the last like month, I'd say. The first few weeks, I didn't think he was playing at a defensive rookie of the year level, but like the last 5 or so, he's been lockdown, there's been nothing. You can go check the charts and where the balls get thrown against the Eagles defense. There really has not been anything on the left side of the field at all. They're starting to go at Slay because I feel like they want to avoid Mitchell. He's been super physical, just super sticky in coverage, playing the man match well, seeing everything well. Yeah, he's been pretty nice, and I feel like no one has really separated themselves in the Defensive Rookie of the Year race, except for Verse, I guess, has separated himself from like a stats perspective.
He has.
I don't know if he's like better than like Quinion Mitchell or Andrew Phillips, shout out to him, or a Nate Wiggins from a like player perspective. But he has all those numbers, and he has
Cooper?
Cooper DeJean?
Gene.
He's just starting, and he's been good so far. So, yeah. Kamari Lassiter's been good, but...
Might be a little too early to pick DeJean, though, for my Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's kind of like Evan Williams, where it's like, has it been really good for a few games? But it's just been a few games. Trevin Wallace is up there in Defensive Rookie of the Year odds. It's because it goes like 3 guys, and then it gets kind of crazy.
And then they really don't know.
I mean, Offensive Rookie of the Year odds, I'm seeing Bo Nix in the top 3. So
No way that's true. Bo Nix ahead
I'm
of...
seeing Bo Nix, dude.
Dude, Bo Nix, he is the worst
is
quarterback
old.
by
This is old.
far throwing over the middle of the field. Like,
This is as of October 29th.
that's yesterday. Nothing has changed between then and now.
Maybe.
Bo Nix,
check.
I know voters don't care about EPA over the middle, but you can't be outlier bad in that area and win the award or be considered even a good quarterback.
Who's ahead of him? What are the Offensive Rookie of the Year?
FanDuel Sportsbook Offensive Rookie of the Year odds. Jaden Daniels, number 1.
Right.
Caleb Williams, number 2. And it's a pretty big drop-off. Jaden's minus 450. Caleb's plus 1,000. Bo Nix is third at plus 1,400. Then Brian Thomas Jr., then Brock Bowers, then Neighbors, then Marv. Then
I'm going to
Coretta.
throw up that Brock Bowers and Brian Thomas Jr. are that low and Bo Nix.
Like
is
Brock
that high.
Bowers legitimately should be first team all pro probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like there's no world in which Bo Nix should be ahead of him. Sorry.
No, that is just everything wrong with awards voting right there. Like, that is...
It can't be that
So
biased towards
egregious.
quarterback.
It
It can't. Like you might as well just not allow anybody else to win it. Now I could argue that FanDuel is FanDuel is just factoring in how likely it is for a quarterback to get it and how bad your odds are as anybody else.
Yeah, it's not the
That's
betting
problem, I guess.
sites. Well, maybe it is the betting site's fault, but I legitimately think there would be voters probably like considering Bo Nix over Bowers. Like, I do think that happens in the votes, but it is partially probably FanDuel's fault.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like they're totally quarterback biased. Drake May is only at plus 10,000. He's below Tyron Tracy and Garendo. And
Wait, what was
Yeah,
that?
because Drake May's played 2 games.
yeah, but he's the GOAT. So don't they understand?
I would say that Drake May is a better bet to win the award than Isaac Garendo, most likely.
Yes. I would
I'll give you that. Because if you do end up as the top quarterback, you'll probably win. And it's like they're kind of projecting, like, I don't know. There is no defense for it. Bo Nix shouldn't be that high. There's no way. He was good over the middle versus the Panthers, though. So maybe he'll use it as a springboard. Yeah, there was some pretty open crossers.
Defensive Rookie of the Year legend, but
All right, so that brings it back to me. I guess I'll take Latu here.
okay.
It's the last pretty good bet for Defensive Rookie of the Year, it feels like. I could take DeJean. That would be a fun pick. But
Adrian Cooper, dude.
Adrian Cooper.
Adrian.
Oh,
Packers linebacker. He's the GOAT.
Packers linebacker. I was like, who's Adrian Cooper? No, I'll take Latu. He's had a pretty good number of pressures this year, a couple of sacks. He's been a pretty solid player. Hasn't quite had this lights out rookie season that I would have hoped he had, but he's been a pretty good player for the Colts so far this year.
Yeah, he's still got his cross chop, which is pretty ridiculous. Yeah. Like he's had a nice season.
His bag of moves is really good. Like he's clearly like an NFL pass rusher.
Oh yeah,
I don't think there's any question.
He's been good. He just hasn't been like your typical defensive rookie of the year pace.
Yeah.
So, but it's just tough to pick that position. But you should go with Evan Williams, who has looked like that. But
I've already made my pick. The ballot box has already been filed. I can't recount the vote.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, your final two picks.
My final
Unless
one
we're doing
pick.
Coach of the Year. I don't think we decided to do that. But
I only need one. Do I need? Oh, I do need two. I do need Offensive Player of the Year. Okay, well, Offensive Player of the Year is pretty easy for me right now. Honestly, I'll just go Jamar. He leads the league in receiving yards. He's having an awesome season. I probably would favor Henry or Justin Jefferson just based off of like Henry, obviously, statistically the most standout guy on offense, and Jefferson right there neck and neck, but is kind of like having this big moment with the Vikings, and I think he's the catalyst for it offensively more than like Darnold or whatever. But it's not Chase's fault that the Bengals defense sucks now. And he's been phenomenal, even in an offense that feels like it can't get him like a lot of like perfect opportunities, a lot of like sometimes they can feel stagnant at times. His production's been fantastic, so I think he's an easy pick. There's a lot of receivers though, like it's a shame that Nico Collins got banged up. He could be up here. I mean, there's tons of dudes in striking distance, so just sort of a for now pick. And then for Defensive Player of the Year, dude, this one's tough. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of guys you could go with. You're grinning, Theo. Do you have something to say?
I have a third name written down, and I'm excited to see who you pick because it really could be any number of players.
There's a few.
I mean, I don't know. Obviously, like I could do something mega woke and go with a non-pass rusher. I'm not going to do that though. Even though I like Fred Warner, whoever.
See, I don't get you. You complain about all the bias in awards voting, and now we're picking players, and you're calling me mega woke for having like Brian Branch written down.
I said I'm looking at my list and I have Brian Branch written down.
But you just said you're not going to pick him, and that is mega woke.
Well, I don't know because I was scared to be different. Okay, this graphic gets posted on. Yeah, but it would be different if I had a real vote. Then it would be for something, and then I'd have like I'd stand on like my principles. Then if it's just going to be a graphic that means nothing on Twitter. Why not avoid the like 2 comments?
You're trying to farm.
We are the Stay Hot, man. This means a lot.
Brian Branch wouldn't be a bad pick, but now I feel fake woke if I do pick it. So
you said that you were fake woke if you took him.
No, I said I was real woke if I took him. Now if I'm taking him just for the sake of like feeling like it's a woke take I can get away with, that's fake woke.
Okay.
I don't know. I'll probably go Nick Bosa right now. I mean, he's having a pretty phenomenal season. I know he's at the top of the list in pressures, and he's been doing his thing. Normally, the 49ers defense hasn't quite been like crazy, I guess, but
now you're anti-woke.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's right. He is. I forgot about the... Okay, well, if we're assuming that this pick like now like holds no basis in reality, scratch the Bosa stuff.
When are we pretending that?
Once we got into the woke versus fake woke Brian Branch selection.
You could pick someone else from this team.
That's right.
I could go Fred Warner.
You could.
All right. That's a happy medium. We'll go Fred Warner.
I'm not mad at Fred Warner. He's how many fumbles has he forced this year? I know that TJ Watt had 4. He's got to have just as many.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
but
Yeah, they both have 4.
Wow.
Theo,
But it's tough because I feel like TJ Watt and Dexter Lawrence were my top 2. And then after that, it's a lot of pass rushers who maybe haven't crazy separated themselves, or you got to go with another position, and the comparisons just get tough after that. Branch is not a crazy pick if that's somebody you had written down.
He was my third
has
pick.
been unbelievable.
Branch
Yeah.
was your third. I thought it might either be Branch or Anderson.
Oh,
Anderson has
wouldn't have been a
been
bad one.
so fucking awesome this past month. I don't know if he was quite at that pace to begin the year. Maybe I just wasn't watching close enough. But Anderson has been so good. I mean, not just pass rushing either. I was happy to see him as high as he is in the odds right now because I just checked them. He's like top 5. I thought there was no way he was that high because half the things I like about Anderson, I'm like, damn, like he just set that edge and caved it in, and it forced it back the other way, or like he annihilated that guy on a stunt and somebody else came through, or like he bull rushed a guard and prevented somebody from stepping up. So like I wasn't even really tapped into like where he ranks sack wise or anything like that. So I'm happy that it must be good if he's that high in the odds. He's been getting a ton of sacks recently, I know as well.
He's probably, I think he's high in pressures or something.
I mean, everything has been good, so I'm glad that he's got a chance at it right now. He's
I'm
not
surprised that Dexter Lawrence isn't leading, to be real with you. I mean, what he's doing is like it's like he leads the league in sacks from a position that shouldn't be doing that. It's like I don't know how that right now isn't
out,
like,
man. Just wait till the graphic
the double
out.
team. Yeah, Chris Jones is up there too. I mean, he just does his thing every single year. Like,
right.
I know in the pressure rate double team or the win rate double team thing, he's still like the complete outlier. So,
or you could go like Zach Allen or somebody. He's having a phenomenal season.
Zach Allen would be kind of a fake woke defensive player of the year, but really when you look at the stats, it's like, oh, maybe it is.
Maybe I
woke.
guess there's like, yeah, that's exactly what you want to know. Who is way high in pressures? Because I was looking at this earlier, of course. 30 with 6 sacks. Jonathan Cooper. I'm actually, hold on, and I'm repping the Gahanna Lincoln shirt today.
Wow.
He was a 7th round pick. He's really good, man. He's a really good player.
He's really good.
You could also go with Aiden Hutchinson at this point, but there's no chance he wins it at the end.
Dude, that would have been the absolute fakest woke take ever given on this pod, dude. I think it's Aiden Hutchinson. He's out for the year. He played 4 games.
But it's midseason awards.
to
It's
this
not.
point.
It's not end of year.
All right, okay, clock me then. Okay, fine, damn.
I do agree, though. Hutchinson was going. I mean, Hutchinson, he's still way high in every total, and he's been out for like now half the season. It's crazy how good of a year.
If he was a
having.
real man, though, he would come back and
Yeah, true.
win the award.
I saw that he could come back if they make the Super Bowl on a ticker one time. It's like, I don't know, man. His leg was like
If he comes
hanging
back
off.
and plays in the Super Bowl and they win, he's going to win Super Bowl MVP, even if he doesn't play well.
If they do that, he's gonna get like carved into Mount Rushmore
That'd be cool.
and like deified. Anyway,
We gotta get through this. We still have to do the locks. I have offensive rookie of the year now. I guess that's my last pick. Yeah. Okay. So offensive rookie of the year. Who's off the board already?
I took Bowers and Matt
Daniels.
took Jaden.
Okay, so that leaves me with either Brian Thomas, Neighbors, or
Zach Frazier.
Joe Alt? Question mark.
Frazier, man, he's like a Creed Humphrey clone.
I'm just saying.
Go woke.
Go woke. Pick the center.
I don't know, Theo. You didn't even consider Creed Humphrey for Offensive Player of the Year. And now
You
wanna-
know who my third name written down is? Penei Sewell. After Henry and Jefferson, I could have put Chase in there, but we could talk about the season Penei Sewell is having, because in preparation for this, my plan was to get MVP over and then Lions max the rest of the way by like nabbing Branch and Sewell last. So in preparation for this, I watched all of the pressure dropbacks from Gunn from the Lions this year. So just to see if he could lose like a real, true, like, vertical pass set. And I watched all the pressures and was looking at him and seeing what he allowed. I saw him block 2 people more often than I saw him, like, get beat, honest to God. Like, there were a lot of blitzes on these pressures, and he would, like, clean up the end and then go out and get the corner on this cut up more than any of the pressures were on him. Like, he has allowed 0 hits. He's allowed 0 sacks. He's allowed 7 pressures all year from the numbers I've seen, while being like a generational run blocker for the best offense in the league. Like, he's been a pretty much a lock top 5 offensive player this year. But I just totally hijacked your pick, Blaiden.
Do you want to know what Joe Alt's odds are? He's the only offensive lineman I'm seeing with odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 25,000.
Yeah, he's not going to win. He allowed a sack to Watt. It's over. I haven't even watched after that. No, he's been good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I guess I should just take Brian Thomas. I want to take Drake May because...
Dude, come on. But that wouldn't make any sense at all. So
Has he won a game?
But
he hasn't won, right?
he hasn't won.
Yeah,
no.
he's still a loser.
But he's good. But it's not his fault though. Like, you need to understand.
Oh, I understand when something's not his fault. It hasn't been his fault.
It hasn't been his fault.
He's 0-2 as a
You come to Theo Ash and try to tell him who and who isn't at fault.
I know who's at fault. But who are you gonna take?
You know what? I'll take Neighbors. I'll take Neighbors. I know he's out right now, but when he's on the field, he's just a complete freak.
He's not
an
out.
Alien. What?
Is he out? He's not out.
He was out. Is he good right now?
Yeah, he's played the last 2 games.
I swear I just saw that he was like questionable.
No.
Oh.
No, he's all good.
Maybe I was reading an old article.
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe. But yeah, no, he's an absolute beast. He was out. I know that, and that's why I was like, oh, is he going to be out again? But yeah, he's an absolute freak, an alien. Moves different, built different. Like we mentioned earlier, he's probably one of the top receivers in the league right now. But Theo, this is your last pick now.
For MVP?
MVP.
It's the only thing I got left to fill. Lamar Jackson is off the board. Josh Allen is off the board. Give me... I don't know. Who would you guys take?
It's still Aiden Hutchinson.
Could I take TJ Watt for this award? Well, he's already defensive player.
Okay, if you could do that, then I could take Lamar for offensive.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'm going with Justin Herbert for my MVP. No joke. No bullshit. You just got to watch the tape to understand, man. The Chargers are a playoff team right now. They would sneak in if it ended today. I think they've got a good shot to make it by the end. And I don't know, man. You just got to watch the film to know that Justin Herbert belongs in this conversation. The interior offensive line is terrible. The receiving core outside of Ladd is not good. The offense under Greg Roman has been predictably ancient, and the passing concepts just are boring, and it doesn't matter. They're still in the playoff consideration. He's been banged up. And again, it just comes down to just watching him on film and just how little he messes up. And I know they don't rank super highly in any of the EPA metrics or the success rate metrics.
I know looks like it's going his way, but
I know that the Chargers offense isn't the most dangerous in the league or anything like that. But when you watch him play quarterback, it's clear that he's playing at a level, I think he's right there after Lamar Jackson in terms of caliber this year. Josh Allen is obviously in that tier. Mahomes is obviously in that tier. But it's when you look at Herbert and everything that he does and the sacks that he avoids and the fact that he just has thrown it accurately so many times, getting plastered by defenders this year, the way he keeps the ball out of harm's way, the way he's just great. He's an unbelievable player and a Lamborghini in kind of that shitty garage that the Chargers have. So I'm going with him. Mahomes is third in odds. Like, I think Herbert has played better than Mahomes. I think C.J. Stroud is an excellent selection. But I
could have
think
picked Burrow. You could have picked Jordan Love. You could have picked.
I could have picked those guys, but Burrow, I mean, he's not in the playoffs, and he's got Jamar Chase the whole year. I know the defense is pretty horrific.
Stat, Theo?
No, but I just think Herbert and Burrow are playing at a very similar level this year. And I think Stroud is playing at a similar level to Herbert this year. And Stroud has been ridiculously good, but he has a game below 50% completion rate. He's got a game where he had 86 yards. Herbert is, playing with just as bad as an OC, I feel like, and just as bad as an interior line. And he hasn't had Nico Collins for any of it, right? So I think, even above Stroud, I think Herbert has a bit of a conversation. I think Herbert is, I don't know. It's kind of a wide open thing after the first two go off the board. I guess I could go Goff as well, but they just won a game where he had 28 yards. All right, I saw 50 points on the scoreboard.
That's a particularly weird scenario. I do agree that Goff is not the MVP.
I agree.
Because that offense is just awesome. I'm sorry. He's not the most valuable player in the NFL.
He deserves probably just as much consideration as Herbert from the general media, I would say. But
Herbert is carried by Ladd and J.K. Dobbins.
That's true. And Harbaugh.
and all. I mean, that's just a long rant. But I'm going with him. He's as good a pick as anybody, I think, at this point. Okay. So I'm going with him and being on brand.
Okay.
And we'll go into the locks.
I'm not gonna crucify you for it. But let's get into the Stay Hot locks. Matt, do you want to tell the people how the Stay Hot locks work for those who might?
We do a snake draft. Everybody picks a team that they think is guaranteed to win. You can pick as many as you like, and you get 1 point for every game you get right any given week. However, you have to get all of your games right, all of your picks right to get any points. So if you pick 3 teams, you either go 3 for 3 and get 3 points, or you go 2 for 3, 1 for 3, 0 for 3 and get 0 points. You also can challenge somebody else's pick. So if Theo Ash were to say, I believe the New Orleans Saints will defeat the pesky and underrated Carolina Panthers, I could challenge him, and if I were to be right, I would get 2 points for that pick. But again, that pick, along with my other picks, all have to be correct for me to get any points at all.
Excellent analysis, Matthew Spawnhour. You were the only one to get points last week, locking the Broncos and the Chiefs. You now have 7 points. Theo had 8 points going into last week and picked the Lions, Jets, Packers, and Vikings. His locks ended very early on. And then
I'm not picking the Thursday game anymore.
And then I locked the Ravens and the Steelers. I have 5 points still because the Ravens lost to the Browns. Not mad at it. So, Matt, which pick would you like to have? You're muted, but I'm sure you're spitting.
Give me the turn.
Oh, he wants the turn. So, Theo, would you like the first or the second pick?
Give me the second pick.
Okay. Very well, then. I will take the first pick, and I will take the Ravens over the Broncos.
That's the biggest spread this week.
Is it?
It is. The Broncos defense is, I think so, it's 9. So
after the Ravens lost to the Browns, I'd be a little bit cautious because the Broncos
are 5-3 for a reason. I understand you're worried about, I guess, Knicks or whatever, but some of these spreads I'm looking at now, I'm kind of I don't know. I feel like so and so or who's it is kind of closer. So
maybe, but I mean,
I don't think that's a bad pick.
Yeah, the Ravens are pretty good, but
I think the Ravens are the better team. So
I'm up next.
You are.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take the Commanders over the Giants. Because
your vision.
The Giants, I mean, they've got such a good front four that I think that the Giants are always maybe a little bit scarier than the worst of the worst teams, like the Panthers. But the Panthers are playing the Saints, And the Giants, Daniel Jones is just so bad. That swinging gate play they whipped out on Monday night, like, it's so unserious. So even when they got explosive plays like last week, they still ended up losing. So
yeah, the Giants are always a reasonable team to lock against. So, Matt, you got 2 picks here.
I do. I love the turn, especially in weeks like this where there's a decent number of games to pick from. I also get my first choice. I'm going to take the Saints over the Panthers.
Shocker.
I think Derek Carr is good to go. I believe that's what I've read. I honestly don't care if he is, though, in terms of this pick. What happened the last time? Like, I think even if you think Spencer Rattler is like making this team 30 points worse, they're still beating the Panthers and covering compared to what they did earlier in the year. So I don't have much faith in them, and their defense is bad. And like I said, they're on pace to be the worst point differential team ever. As for my second pick, Bengals over Raiders is interesting. That's a 7-point spread. Mm-hmm. But the Raiders have been feisty. You have to give them credit for that. Philly over Jacksonville is another good one. That's like a 7.5-point spread. That one's interesting, but like you never know when Lawrence can put together something, right? I mean, they almost beat the Packers last week. They were super competitive. They kind of blew out the Patriots before that. I know that they're overall having a pretty rough season. And that the biggest spread left, maybe this is what I trust, is the Chiefs over the Buccaneers, because the Buccaneers are just so weak at receiver now.
And the Chiefs are coming off just kind of their best game.
Yeah, I'll probably just go Chiefs here. Okay. They're 7-0. It's tough to bet against that. I think I think every other team that I could pick against is feisty in some way or the other, or the opponent that they're going against is imperfect or prone to mistakes. So I don't want to take this as like a big shot at the Buccaneers, but without the receivers, it's tough.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Baker's been playing pretty bad recently. I don't think he's going to go into Kansas City and win. I will take the Bills over the Dolphins because they always beat the Dolphins, I feel like.
They do, don't they?
It's not a bad pick.
And I think the Bills are one of those powerhouse teams that like are just going to kind of win 75% of their games. Dolphins lost last week to the Cardinals. Tua didn't fix all of their issues, certainly. I mean, it was a good game, and I think the Cardinals are a little underrated. So maybe this is foolish. Maybe the Dolphins with Tua are a little bit too formidable to lock against, but I'll go with that.
Okay. I'll take the Eagles over the Jags.
That's a better idea.
What am I thinking?
No tradesies, no tradesies, no take backs. And I guess, do I want to take the swing here? Or do I want to just like be out? I guess maybe I'm trying not to be like super crazy or anything and take something like dumb. But I'll take...
Typically a good strategy.
No, because it's like I was like, ooh, what? I was like, what if I lock the Patriots? Wait, they don't have Drake May this week. I don't think. I think I will take the Bengals over the Raiders, and then I'll be done.
T. Higgins is not practicing still, which kind of cools me from that, but they have Jermaine Burton and Yoshi Vosh still, so they're still pretty high-powered.
Burrow's playing good football right now.
Yeah, you'd expect him to be able to beat the Raiders, even with their current situation.
I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be fine.
I'm gonna take the Cardinals over the Bears. I just think the Cardinals. I like some of the things that they're doing right now. They got Marvin Harrison Jr. playing at a lot better last week. They're a good offense. James Conner is a beast. And I like some of the things they're doing on defense. Like lining up like 5 safeties, I feel like, and then rotating any which way. They have like 2 defensive linemen on the field on passing downs and then just pop out into the craziest zone you've ever seen. It's so funny that Gannon was considered this vanilla, this vanilla guy coming in from Philly, and now he's running like by far the thing that's least like everybody else in the league. And I think it's going to cause some problems for Caleb after what I saw last week. And I just like this offense. So I'm actually going to go with that and move on to Matt.
I'm going to be conservative as always and stick with my 2, but I won't lie. The value of challenging you on the Bears for double points is pretty tempting. I'll stick where I am.
I think that's smart, Matt.
I'm going to challenge myself here with this next pick. And,
Yeah, if you challenge yourself, it's hedging your own bet. And you can actually, if you make a lock under Huel Jinkley.
No offshore points. Sorry.
Short point. But, okay, so that means those are the locks then. Week
did I say
9.
I was finished?
Oh, God, Theo.
Matt, it's almost just as tempting to challenge you on your Saints pick with how horrific they've been recently.
Theo.
What's the difference between them and
Do it.
the Panthers, really? But I'm not locking the Panthers. That's a silly way to get beat. But
Right.
I'm
It'd be awesome, man.
You're going to be sweating that pick.
Chuba Hubbard is going to make you sweat, though. Chuba Hubbard is going, from what I've seen from these Saints recently.
Dude, it does not matter. They have the worst defense like ever, dude.
All right.
Who would win?
I can't argue with that.
The Browns offense with Watson or the Panthers defense?
That's all right now. Dude, their defense sucks, dude. Dude, don't. It is. I'm pretty sure it's actually gotten itself. No, it's not quite dead last in EPA per play. We'll wait.
Like of
getting
all
there, don't
time or
worry.
this year?
This year.
Who's dead last?
Jaguars.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing. We blew up our defense intentionally. Plus, we had a big injury. So
That's right.
That's like,
this is supposed to
whoopsie,
be
could
their
happen.
year.
the Jaguars have not done such.
The Saints, over the last 3 weeks, the Saints and Panthers defense has been like the exact same level of bad. And the offense has probably also been the exact same level of bad. But Derek Carr is coming back, so.
That's the killer. If it was Rattler, I think you'd have a case. But even then, no, it's still worse than Carolina.
From week 6 to 8, the Saints offense has actually been like kind of a bit worse than the Panthers offense somehow.
But the Panthers have put Bryce back in.
That's true. I'm not going to lock them, so I'll shut up.
All right. So are you done on your locks, Theo?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So that means the Stay Hot locks going into week 9 of the NFL season. I have 5 points. I'm locking the Ravens, the Eagles, and the Bengals. Theo has 8 points. He's locking the Commanders, the Bills, and the Cardinals. And Matt has 7 points, locking the Saints and the Chiefs. And that will do it for another episode of Stay Hot. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And if you haven't already, make sure you go check out our film breakdown of Shedeur Sanders. It was a pretty good one. But, yeah, we'll probably do some more of those. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And until next time, we will catch you on the Flippity Flop.